Today we're going to take a look at the driver assistance package from Mercedes-Benz. The driver assistance package is one of the most robust and comprehensive packages available throughout the Mercedes-Benz range. Today we're looking at a GLS 580, but much of the information today applies for the entire Mercedes-Benz range if you go ahead and opt for the driver assistance package. One of the quick questions I get all the time is, when I'm walking through the lot, how do I know which vehicles have the driver assistance package? Well, there's a quick trick that you can look. If you look at the front of this vehicle, where the Mercedes-Benz star is, it looks like it's three-dimensional, but it's actually totally smooth. Behind this star is where they hide the sensors for all of the active cruise control. And so you can absolutely tell whether a car has the driver assistance package by just checking, is that smooth or is there actually a three-dimensional star there? You should also note there are tiny little lines there. Those are actually heating elements, so if you're driving in the wintertime and snow accumulates there, it will actually heat up, melt the snow off so as to not impede any of its radar functionality. So there are a number of features that are in driver assistance package, and people say, wow, that's a lot of money. You know, on some cars it's anywhere from $1,700 to $2,500, and that is a lot of money, but it's really worth it. Let's talk about what some of those features are. To begin with, let's talk about Distronic. Distronic is the radar-guided cruise control system. So when you engage cruise control, there's actually a switch on the steering wheel, and you can select how far or not far you're willing to follow the vehicle in front of you. So what it's going to do, if you're cruising down the road, it's going to lock onto the vehicle in front of you. If that vehicle slows down, it will actually let off the gas, or in some cases actually brake, so that you don't come up too close on that vehicle. If the vehicle in front of you comes to a complete stop, this vehicle will come to a complete stop. If that stop is less than 3 seconds, when that vehicle gets out of the way, the vehicle will resume speed automatically. If it is more than 3 seconds, all you have to do is give it a quick tap of the accelerator and the car knows you're ready to get going again, and it will resume back to your cruise control speed. Now, as is the case with all these vehicles, you can disable any of these features if you're uncomfortable with them or you just don't like the way they feel. Next thing we're going to talk about is Active Steering Assist. Active Steering Assist is a system that's going to use sensors in the car to look at the lines on the road, guardrails, and even the vehicle in front of you to help keep your vehicle centered in the lane. Now again, this is only going to be activated when when cruise control is activated, but it can be a real help in case you have one of those situations where you're distracted for a moment. It will keep the car in lane and will actually even go through bends and turns, gentle turns with it. Let's talk about Evasive Steering Assist. Now, up to this point, we've been talking about features that you're going to be using on a daily basis and that are there for your convenience. Now, let's talk about something that's more from a safety point of view. With Evasive Steering Assist, the vehicle will actually, if it detects you making an evasive steering maneuver, it will help apply steering force to the steering wheel to help you make that maneuver, and then it will also help you straighten the vehicle after the maneuver has been completed to make sure you stay safe. Let's talk about Active Brake Assist. Now, most Mercedes-Benz have Active Brake Assist coming standard on them. What that's going to do is if it detects that you're about to rear-end another vehicle, it will actually provide braking force to stop you and help to prevent that situation. When you have the driver assistance, it's going to add cross-traffic assist. Now what that's doing is at speeds up to 45 miles an hour, it's using sensors to scan the road in both directions, each side, in order to help prevent you getting a T-bone collision. It will provide an audio signal, and then if it detects that you're ready to start braking and it knows that you want to brake, it will help you provide maximum braking force to help avoid that crash. Another great feature that's part of the driver assistance package that's really key to the safety part of this is the emergency stop assist. So let's talk about what that's going to do. The vehicle is going to be able to detect whether you have put any steering input in or whether you have had your hands on the steering wheel. If it feels that you have not been touching the steering wheel for a prolonged period of time, it's going to first start with some visual and audio tones inside the vehicle, reminding you to put your hands back on the steering wheel. If you continue to ignore that and you are not touching the steering wheel, such as in the event of a medical emergency, it will gradually bring the vehicle to a complete stop so that you don't have an accident. The next feature I'd like to talk about is active speed limit assist. You don't have to use this, but it is a really convenient function. When it's activated, when you have cruise control on, the vehicle is going to be scanning the speed limit signs as you drive down the road. And it will adjust the cruise control based on that, so that if you're not paying attention, you're not going to get a speeding ticket by suddenly going 65 in a 45. The next thing I'd like to talk about is active blind spot assist. Now, most Mercedes-Benz now have blind spot assist standard. What that is it's a little triangle that's in the mirror, then it's going to detect if there's someone in your blind spot. And it'll provide both audio and visual tones to let you know that there's someone in your blind spot. Now, what makes the driver assistance active blind spot assistance different? Well, what it's going to do is, again, it's still going to provide you that audio and visual tone that there's someone in your blind spot. But if you start to drift into that lane where that vehicle is, the vehicle will actually steer you back into lane to prevent a side swipe collision. Another feature that's part of the driver assistance package is the active lane change assistant. When cruise control is activated, the vehicle will change lanes for you simply by selecting the turn signal. So if I select the turn signal left while I'm cruising down the road with cruise control engaged, the vehicle will check to see if there's open space in the lane next to me and will move into that lane and then turn off the turn signal. Another great safety feature is Pre-Safe Plus. The car is constantly scanning, making sure that the vehicle is not about to be hit. However, in that worst case scenario, the car will actually detect that a collision is imminent, and it's going to start to do a number of different things. Some of the first things that it's going to do is it's going to tighten up your seat belts. It's going to even play a white noise in the vehicle to pre-tension your eardrums ready for the sound of an impending crash, so you don't have any hearing or you have less hearing loss. The other thing that's really exciting about it is in the event of a rear-end collision, it will actually pre-apply the brakes so that you're not pushed into the vehicle in front of you, thus mitigating the damage of a secondary collision. Now, traffic is unfortunately a reality of daily life, and the driver assistance package can help with that. With the extended start-stop congestion mode, the vehicle can actually come to a complete stop, and then if that stop is less than 3 seconds, it will roll forward, thus alleviating some of the stress of stop-and-go traffic. I'd also like to talk about route-based speed adaptation. So, if you have navigation enabled, so you've got a destination input into the navigation system, and you have cruise control on, the vehicle will actually know that a turn is coming and reduce the speed. Let's say there's a roundabout coming. Again, it'll reduce that speed as you go through the roundabout. Once you're through the roundabout, it will resume cruise control at the previous speed. Thanks for taking the time to learn about driver assistance package from Mercedes-Benz. It really is an incredibly powerful set of features and one that I recommend everyone at least consider. As always, like and subscribe to our videos so you stay up to date at all the latest news coming here from Zimbrick Mercedes-Benz. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions or make a suggestion of what you'd like to see in an upcoming video. Thanks.